Ladies and gentlemen, do not adjust your screens. You heard the siren, you heard the horns. You know who it is. You know what it is. It's your boy, Jarek Lacey, right here. Had to do an emergency ring theory. And I got some folks right here to talk about what everybody's been talking about all weekend. I got my boy, Dr. Chris Ealy. My man, what's going on a Sunday? How you doing?
Man, I am chilling, man. Working this weekend. Yeah, we came in hot Saturday. I got the news from James Romero, courtesy of YouTube, 5 a.m. Pacific time,
Mhm.
and I immediately was like, okay, gotta write an article on this because we had just launched the Substack. Okay, so this is a good first article. It's so big I had to split it into two parts. And yeah, man, it's one of those things that I saw coming, but you still are surprised when it happens, so
Mm.
wait, can't wait to chop it up, man.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And I had to bring in somebody who don't have one way. He got two ways about him. Two-way Ray. Step to the stage, my man. How you doing today?
What's going on, good brothers? I'm doing well, always doing well on a lovely Sunday, but I'm especially uh, very excited to talk about our upcoming topic, our breaking news of the day, of the weekend, rather. So, yeah, totally excited to be joining you brothers once again. Sorry I wasn't able to be on with y'all on Friday, but I'm glad to share some time with you guys today.
Well, I'm glad you got to have some time off on Friday
Mhm.
because we saved some for you today. You know what I'm saying? So,
Indeed.
wow, let's just get into it. So, we just came off with 24 people getting cut by WWE, and we head into Friday Night SmackDown, and we think all is well. We think everything is cool. We think everything's
Mhm.
kosher. Saturday morning, Dr. Chris said it, 5 a.m. He gets notified. Whoop whoop. There's been two releases. First off is JC Mateo
Mhm.
and Tongaloa. Okay, so that one we kind of saw the writing on the wall with previous week on SmackDown with how they were just written off the MFTs. I mean, the way Jacob Fatu ran through the whole group, crazy,
Mhm.
right? So that one wasn't too, that didn't really set any alarm bells off. But what did set some alarm bells off for me anyway, and I'm sure for the rest of everyone in the internet wrestling community was Xavier Woods, Kofi Kingston have been sent to the alumni page on WWE because they could not come to terms for the new contract.
Mhm.
So a lot of people out there are curious, what's their next landing spot? What's their next move? Is this a good move? Did WWE fumble? I know your opinion, Chris. I'm assuming I know your opinion, Ray, but I'm gonna give you mine just real quick. This is not a bad day for New Day. On the opposite end, I think this is a great day and possibly a very new day for those two brothers right there, simply because they have so much more that they can bring besides professional wrestling. They have external opportunity, branding opportunities that they could connect with and make money, almost just as much money as they were wrestling with their outside ventures. They're both creative, they're both smart, they're both well connected in the entertainment space. That's what they brought to WWE. That's what WWE was missing for quite a while. And to be honest with you, they didn't know how to handle it because they brought what was called the culture to the forefront.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Brother Dr. Chris, what say you, brother?
Yeah, man. So, when the New Day was first introduced, not individually, but when they were introduced as a group, I initially hated them because they were corny. And as the weeks went by, they were just fulfilling too many negative stereotypes I just didn't like. So it was like,
Mhm.
well, who are these bastards? Like what's going on? And does Kofi Kingston not have enough cachet to say, I ain't doing this shit,
Right.
And as the weeks went by, because initially when they were first brought up, it was Xavier Woods, Kofi, and Biggie. I don't know if they were having a match or doing something in the ring, and Kofi. Xavier Woods comes out there with his Malcolm X glasses on, says, "Hey, we need to come together," or whatever he said, and you think that's going to start something good, maybe like a heel faction, maybe something in the like like adjacent to the nation, maybe without all the racial undertones, but something mature like that. But then as the weeks went by, they did the individual vignettes with all three of them. Kofi was dancing or jumping up and down. Big E was acting like a black preacher. I forget what Woods was doing, but it was something. And then it's like, what are these guys gonna be? And then when they get on TV, it's just the most goofy crap on the planet. It was getting booed every week. Wasn't great stuff to watch. It didn't make my soul feel good watching it. But then as weeks went by, they were able to parlay that into they just went full on goofy with it. I was like, man, ask for your release, dudes. The indies got to be better than this. This was before AEW was a thing, but they played their hand, and they played their hand well. They were patient. They turned up the goofiness to like 50 notches to where you finally had to turn them heel because it just made sense to what they were doing. They had a good heel run, a heel run that was so over that actually turned them into baby faces, you know. And it was off to the races from there, you know. And then they've gone through their trials, their tribulations, their crucibles with Big E suffering that horrific injury from Ridge Holland. You could go back to the archives on and Nubian Wrestling Advocates if you want to hear my thoughts on that. But yeah, he had the injury, career-ending injury. So he's staying in WWE for now. Kofi and Xavier are going somewhere else. We'll find out where it's at, but it is the end of an era. And I don't know if you've thought much about this, Jay, but like wrestlers stay in WWE way longer than they used to, you know, because if you remember back in the 80s and 90s, like runs that I thought lasted forever really were only like a few years. Like Demolition were only there until like 91, you know, from like 80, was it like 88 maybe to 91. Heart Foundation were a thing from WrestleMania 2 to WrestleMania 7. You know, things that didn't last that long. Now you got, you know, these acts that have just been there forever and ever. Roman Reigns, 11 WrestleMania main events, you know, what's Drew McIntyre's been in the company on and off for some years. It's just mind-boggling to think of, and you know, you don't really appreciate the run of these guys until the run ends, and you go and you look at it now in hindsight, like, man, what did these guys accomplished a lot. I don't think they're disposable. And we can't forget about Kofi Mania during this time too.
Right.
That was a big deal that WWE fumbled. They did not respect those brothers, treated them like shit. And you know, I think it might be accumulation of things that led up to this, because I think, and this is my guess, and you know, you guys can say what y'all think too, but my guess is that they were not particularly happy in WWE. That doesn't mean they were upset or angry. I think they were probably content in WWE. But when Triple H or Nick Khan or whoever came at them with that lowball offer, they probably looked at the trajectory of how they were treated over the last few years since Kofi Mania, and we're
Mhm.
like, yeah, we're better than this. Let's get the fuck out of here. That's my guess. All right, that's my spiel, everyone.
Ray, what say you?
Yeah, I definitely agree that this is, in fact, the end of an era. Brother Jay, you were talking about how they represented the culture. And for those who are longtime followers of us here, not only at Nefarious Media, but also through the initial rising of the Kings of Sport Network and the initial rising of the NWA podcast, Brother Nate Milton has his 5 specific stereotypes of black wrestlers within the WWE. And he has the old stereotypes, preachers, pimps, new stereotypes, thugs, gangsters, rappers, uh, the smiley, happy Negro, uh, the athletic Negro with no particular backstory, and I believe there's one more. Oh, angry black man.
Mm.
And so, as Nate always eloquently explained, usually within the WWE, black performers will always fall under one of those 5 stereotypes, right? And so when they first came, and I don't think he ever mentioned this one, but when they first got involved with WWE, they both had separate, or they all three had separate paths to join the WWE. Big E came in as like an enforcer for AJ Lee and for Dolph Ziggler.
Mhm.
Um, and that was after his run with the NXT title and with the NXT brand. And while also being a part of Florida Championship Wrestling before they
Mhm.
shipped it on to the NXT label. Um, and then you had Austin Creed, who made his way from TNA and then proceeded to go through the NXT or through Florida Championship Wrestling as well and go up through the NXT brand while it was just opening. And this was after they had their whole game show era. But like actually making a name of NXT as the developmental territory from then on. And he initially came onto the main roster dancing around with the Funkadactyls. And so, and then of course we know Kofi Kingston, who's has a Nigerian name, but for some reason is from Jamaica. And so all these brothers had different timelines of when they entered, but they all converged on this one fateful day in July
Mhm.
21st, 2014. Um, with with like you were saying, Chris, with uh Xavier Woods having on the Malcolm X glasses with the Brother Love get up, trying to
Mhm.
recruit them. And so I think they were still kind of playing up towards those stereotypes. But then once they started getting comfortable with who they were within the New Day as the New Day, their personalities started to shine. And then they started to promote blackness in a different way than was originally promoted on WWE television. Even like back then in the 2010s, you still had acts like Crime Time, and you had the prime time players.
Mhm.
They were decent, but again, they weren't allowed the leeway to kind of stretch forth and do more with Fred Ross or Darren and Titus O'Neil. They weren't allowed to do more than what they were allowed to do. And so now you started seeing that the New Day can be promotable, and they can also still be their authentic selves and promote blackness in a different way. Like, hey, we want a new day. Like that slid under the radar for some guys,
Mhm.
Mhm.
especially especially the big wig who was at the top. That probably slid under the radar for him, but folks who knew, like the if you know, you know type thing. And so, and they started introducing like little bits, but also introducing bits of themselves, whether it be with Kofi Kingston and his love for sneakers and him being a sneakerhead, or whether it be Xavier Woods, his love for anime and for video games, kind of creeping into it a bit, and with Big E, his love for rap, and like their gear just being tied to all of their specific interests and hobbies, whether it be them coming down dressed up as Power Rangers or dressed up as Mortal Kombat characters, or I think Big E had some things where um he had gear made up to resemble the Score album cover from the Fugees, and
Yeah.
so they're giving us these little slices into their hobbies, into what they love and what they enjoy, and personalizing it, but also making it for the culture and something that folks of our folks of the untraditional type can be proud of, right?
Right. Yeah. The Black
Yeah.
Lives Matter gear too. They did that.
Exactly. And I was just about to get into that too. Like with all the stuff that was going on with George Floyd, like these brothers, they made a stand. They took a stand, and I know a lot of people were going to be like, well, all the corporations were doing that back then because they didn't want to get any backlash. But these brothers like personalized it for themselves. And I remember them having their podcast talking about this, and just like all of them kind of breaking down in a way and being real personal about how this affects them as well. And just being the guys to step up and to take the mantle. Especially around that time, was something to be proud of. And so definitely, like you said, brother Jay, they're extremely great representatives of the culture. And we saw within the last year, we thought that their split from Big E would kind of lead them to bigger and better things, especially considering the audience, like get the boos and the reactions that they were getting, that maybe the upper brass would see this and start pushing them as more serious contenders within either the tag division or within like individual divisions, whether it be intercontinental title, US title, and even beyond. Like you thought that they would really be serious, especially after considering everything that was going on with Kofi Mania, and then how that unceremoniously ended. Like we thought we would really see these guys truly break out, but then as is the case, WWE is only in it for the moments, but not for the long-term longevity of different programs or different storylines. And they kind of floundered only like 3 months in, and they just ended up back into the tag team division. And it's like they're doing stuff that's still entertaining, but isn't making an impact on the general scope of the show, not as much as we thought it would. And so I know, brother Chris, you were kind of speaking like even right before they came out with them re-signing, you were just like, man, their contracts, I think it looks like around this time their contracts going to be up. I think they're going to leave. I think they're going to leave. I think they're going to leave. They end up re-signing, but I still think that they had it in the back of their minds that probably, maybe we're doing it for the check. And then once, like you guys mentioned, once they were approached by TKO to restructure, reportedly, they just felt that it wasn't worth it anymore.
Yeah, it's disrespectful. I mean, like if you work your way up to seven figures, you got a company that's bragging about all these deals. They're
Yep.
bragging about their financials. TKO, um, Nick Khan, the evil Khan, he had a like this town hall with his workers, and he is talking about all this money that they're making. They're basically shitting on fans that were giving them legitimate critiques. He's going back in time to 2015, 2016 critiques of Roman Reigns, like how fans were talking smack about Roman Reigns and acting like they were just wrong, which is actually not true. They were right. Because what happened was fans were complaining about the Roman Reigns character because it was stale. It was not. It was uninteresting. Fans were for Daniel Bryan. That's who they liked. Roman Reigns was there. He just really wasn't doing anything remarkable at the time. He was cutting horrible promos. And WWE finally got a bone. And the bone that they caught was this brother catching cancer, leukemia. His leukemia that he had came out of remission. He's in the ring. When he's introduced, he's booed out they're booing the hell out of him. When he says he's got the leukemia, of course, no one's booing that shit, you know. If you booed that crap in front of me, I'd have a problem with that, you know. But they cheered him and gave him a thing. So then when he came back, he was kind of a face, but they were still doing goofy stuff with him. He found his voice when they've turned him heel. That's when the fortunes for Roman Reigns changed. The fans were not wrong about this guy. They were right. WWE changed trajectory with him. You know, with Bad Bunny. I don't think people really had an opinion about Bad Bunny. I don't like. Maybe there were a few negative. Maybe you guys remember better than me. Maybe there were a few negative tweets about Bad Bunny, but I don't. There was not like this. The way Nick Khan tells the story is like there was this like enormous amount of heel heat for Bad Bunny, go away heat for him, and they still went the trajectory and ended up being right, and all the fans were wrong, that kind of stupid shit. And New Day doesn't have to put up with that anymore. That's the whole point of me going through that spiel, is because now you reached the trajectory. You had seven figures. I don't know. I think they might have had tour buses or not. I'm not sure, but they reached the 7-figure mark. When you hit like, out of respect to what they've been to that company, they should still have been getting the 7 figures. I think, and like, anytime I say anything about Vince, I always have to couch it with, I don't think he should come back. He's a piece of slime. He's not a good person. But what I'll say about him though is I don't think he did this kind of crap like, especially if there were like, if like, he did do this stuff with certain people, but like, I think like, even with like a Mark Henry, when Mark Henry wasn't getting pushed anymore, Vince McMahon didn't take away his tour bus. You know what I'm saying? He didn't like take away or didn't like ask him to restructure his contract. You know, they probably asked him to restructure after that $10 million contract he signed when he first got there in '96. They probably asked him to restructure after that deal, but once he started getting over, he became a legacy guy and was getting his money. I just don't think you ask a legacy team like New Day, who's been making millions of dollars for you guys, who at times in that company were top merch sellers, always in the like top 5, you know. Like these guys did their part. and the company did not do their part. And this is what introduces bad will to your workers. It's like, why would you do, like, the question is like, why would you do this? To save a couple bucks, you know? Like, is like, and like, doing this kind of shit is more important to TKO than creating goodwill amongst their workers, not employees, because they're not employees, because they're not unionized, but
Contracted
amongst,
employees, yeah.
yeah,
Contracted.
amongst their workers. I fully believe if they sign with AEW, they might actually get offered a employee contract by TK, because TK does that with some of his wrestlers. I don't know if a lot of our listeners know this, but there are wrestlers in AEW that have both wrestler contracts and employee contracts. CM Punk had
Yeah,
a contract like that. Jericho has a contract like that.
John Moxley.
Moxley has it, yeah. So I could
Mhm.
see New Day falling into that. I think um and they're not super old. Like Xavier Woods is 39, Kofi
Yeah.
Woods is 44. In today's wrestling, you could easily get a good decade out of both of them.
That sounds like
Um
the wrestling prime right there. I mean, if
right,
you
yeah,
look at the landscape for
exactly.
real.
Yeah, for real, because just based on the current landscape, I think um and Kofi and Woods wrestle like a safe style. um I could see Big E joining them too, like as far as um them keeping their names are concerned. Did we want to touch on that right now, or
Not yet, but
okay?
not to cut you off because you cooking right now, but I gotta bring somebody up, bro. And I would be
Yeah,
remiss if I didn't bring this man to the stage. I mean, this
yeah,
is
yeah.
my brother. This is my tag team partner. This is somebody we 1 year deep into this ring theory, cooking up theories left, right, and center. He's not just uptown. He's sometimes midtown, but you all know him as downtown Gerard Brown. Gerard, welcome to this emergency ring theory, my brother. How you doing? What are your thoughts on this whole New Day release that we just heard about over the weekend?
It's heartbreaking, man, because when I hear my favorites being shortchanged, that's sad when they putting in the work, when they've been good employees, when they have done nothing wrong for the company, and then now they're being asked to be shortchanged and be given less than. Always willing to deliver, always willing to show up. But I've seen this before with TNA and AJ Styles. Hey, we're gonna lowball you. He had to go. Now we're seeing the same thing with New Day in WWE, and it's just heartbreaking. After as long as they've been there, the work they've put in to see them be done like this, cool. They left amicably, but like you telling me like you got to reduce my money and y'all making money hand over fist.
Hmm.
That's that's you can say it's amicable, but like
Yeah, I was about to
you're
say.
disrespectful as hell for
Yeah,
doing that.
that's
So yeah.
amicable. The word amicable is doing a lot of work there. It's amicable amicable as far as they're like, we're not gonna take the money, that we're not gonna take this lowball offer. We're getting the fuck out of here. And TK was like, okay. That was the amicable part of it, is they agreed to, TK didn't put up a fight when they left. Um, but no, that was not an amicable thing, in my opinion. They'll tell their tell when it's time. But I'm gonna make the assumption that anytime you're dealing with a act like that, a legacy act like that, and you've brought that much to the table for a company, and they're asking you to take a pay cut, and it's not a pay cut like a 90s pay cut where Vince McMahon was like, hey man, we're not making as much money as we're making, we've got the steroid trial, can you take less money? This is a situation where they're bragging about their money. They're
Mhm.
on TV, on media calls, on YouTube, on Twitter, all the shit, bragging about their money and then saying, "Hey, we can't pay you this." What the fuck?
Yeah, the one thing I can say that you touched on it a little bit, Chris, with Vince McMahon and his, and his I'm not even gonna come to his defense, but the difference between Vince McMahon
Yeah,
run WWE and the TKO Nick Khan led WWE is that Vince McMahon took care of people. I mean, look
right.
at, we got examples like James Dudley. You know, no one knew who was James Dudley. He
Yeah, yeah,
was
the limo driver.
someone
Yeah,
special to Vince McMahon that he kept him on payroll to the very end, and then put him in the Hall of Fame. You know, you got Titus O'Neil. Hasn't wrestled in how long? Since it's been a minute since we've seen that
right.
man on screen. He's doing some other work with WWE, but Vince McMahon kept him on because he saw something he liked Titus and still, able to cut him a check, and he's able to, still make a good living, doing what he does there. Nick Khan, as soon as he says, "Oh, wait a minute, did someone say Titus O'Neil?" He may be on the chopping block, unfortunately. This TKO is all about profits, and they're like,
Mhm.
LL Cool J 89 walking with a panther, just bragging about money, and we ain't feeling it. We
Mhm.
ain't feeling it. You know what I'm saying? So, but I think even though I never like to see anyone lose their job, anyone that's providing for their family, um, take bread off their table. That's I don't want to ever see that. But I think they did them a solid by, hey, let's get rid of them because they have the potential to cash out and make even more, if not the same money they were already making with the contract that they renegotiated and signed. What was it? Maybe a year ago?
Yeah, yeah. It was a year ago because we did the episode. This was before you guys got here, but we did the episode in January.
Okay.
And I was actually thinking they weren't gonna resign. I was like, these because I knew they had a contract coming up, and they did not resign for a little while. They
Mhm.
didn't resign until like January or February of the next year. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. So I was like, maybe the money is just too good or whatever, like maybe but and I think I might have said this. I went back and listened to it yesterday before we did this show, and it went something like maybe, like, I don't see TK fulfilling or not TK. I don't see TKO fulfilling that contract just because I've just seen how they react to things. It's a money hungry company. They don't like when Dana Warrior, the Ultimate Warrior's wife, um when they found out that she wasn't really needed because I guess the job she had was just either a useless job or a job that somebody else fulfilled already, and they got rid of her.
Yeah.
And Vince McMahon kept her around because her husband died during their weekend when he was getting into the Hall of Fame.
Right.
So Vince was like, okay, the very least we could do is help this woman buy groceries. Let me give her this job, and you know, because that's a traumatic thing to go through.
Mhm.
Your husband is making peace with a company that he beefed with for so many years, almost 20
Yeah.
years. They did that evil DVD on him, and I'm sure Vince McMahon felt a little bit of guilt and contrition about that. I'm sure he didn't love the fact that he did that after the fact. I'm sure it felt good in the moment when he did it. After the fact, it wasn't good. It didn't feel good, and he hires his wife on after she becomes a widow. Um, and then to just be like, okay, we don't need you now, so
Yeah.
goodbye. That's just how they do people in that company. And I think, like, and Vince McMahon was not a saint. He did people
Right.
dirty as hell too, but there was enough humanity there with certain workers that he you where his defenders can say, well, Vince McMahon, had James Dudley there. Vince
Mhm,
McMahon had Dana Warrior there. Vince
mhm.
McMahon treated Gorilla Monsoon like a king right up into his death, you
Right.
know, just things like that. And WWE they're just so driven. Like Ariel Hawani said, I heard him say this on an episode of his podcast. They are a soulless company, and we have to at least admit that. Even if you love WWE, you have to at least admit that.
Yeah,
And
and
I'm
that's the
glad you brought that in. Oh, I'm
yeah.
sorry, Ray. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to chime in real quick. That's the thing too with TKO because it's not only with WWE, but it happened with UFC as well. So,
Mhm.
like you mentioned with WWE, all the
Yeah.
folks who are like the little folks who've been around for a while, and will be remiss if we don't name Howard Finkel, who was there for a long time, and even after his career as a announcer ended, a ring announcer, and ended, like uh Vince McMahon had him on doing payroll and helping people get like car rentals and hotels and the hotel stays when they were on the road. Like Howard Finkel was handling that stuff, and he was in the behind the scenes and doing that stuff as well. So like the WWE prior to TKO, they were kind of like, I mean, as much as a family as a corporation could be, but they still recognize those who were truly like their employees, and they still
Mhm.
recognize them and kept them around. Um, you saw the
Okay.
same thing with the UFC as well. Real quick, look, let me chime in. When we had Chuck Liddell, his career ended, and this was prior to TKO. This
Yeah,
was
he
when the
had a lifetime contract. Yeah.
yeah, had Chuck Liddell there as ambassadors, had Big Nog Antonio Rodrigo Nogueira as an ambassador for Brazil, had Matt Hughes on as an ambassador and was paying him even after he got caught up with a getting hit by a train and
Mm.
paying for his medical bills and keeping him on as an ambassador. But all that stuff went to the wayside once TKO entered. So it wasn't just with WWE, but we saw these things happening with TKO as well. And like you said, it's just soulless. It's just, hey, we're crunching the numbers. This is needless to us. Why do we still have it on?
Ray, keep
I need to take a pause because I'll agree with the UFC side, but I feel like we're getting a little revisionist with
Yeah,
WWE in Vince McMahon's time at the very end because that pandemic cutting. If
yeah,
you actually go look at the last like 3-4 years of WWE right before they sold the company, they were literally gutting it and preparing it for the sell,
Right.
cutting
Yeah.
long-time employees,
good
35
point.
year
Yeah. I
employees,
like
40-year employees, the
what I,
referee, ring bell people, up and down the card, no matter if you were at the office or working on the day-to-day ring crew. They
but
were
what I
getting
what
that
I
company
said
ready
what
for that
what I
fullest.
specifically said though, what I specifically said is WWE was good at the optic of humanity, and that's the truth. They were good at that. TKO can't even feign that shit. They can't even fake it. Vince McMahon could at least do that. He had his people there. TKO has nobody there. Like the people that, like those 20-year, 30-year people that were with WWE that they cut during the pandemic era, those were people that kind of slipped under the radar. I don't know how much Vince McMahon really cared about those people. He
The
did
timekeeper
have
slipped under the
who's
radar.
yeah, they were just
He was
there.
there every day. What do you
Who's
thought he was
that?
slipping under the radar?
Who you
It's
talking
like it was
about?
like a long time timekeeper that they had released.
Yeah,
He was
I
doing
don't
his
think. Yeah,
job
I
day
don't
to
think. I
day.
don't think he was. I don't think Vince McMahon was friends with that guy. Is what I'm saying. I don't. I think he was. I think he did slip under the radar. I think. I think he was there. Like the guys that are Vince McMahon's friends are the ones that are his friends, like a Gorilla Monsoon, like a Howard Finkel, like a James, those are the people that you know that they kind of advertise the friendship of. The timekeepers and people like that, like the Brooklyn Brawler. I mean, that's not people Vince McMahon ever like advertised as like, you know, someone that he cared about or liked. TKO has nobody like that. They don't have anyone like that you could that where they could even fake it. Vince McMahon could fake it. TKO can't.
Real quick, just wanted to jump in. Ray, can you get to SP3's comment? I wanted to put down the screen real quick.
All right,
Yeah.
just a moment.
Oh,
All right.
he came in hot last night, yesterday morning too. That was breaking news for True Hill Heat.
Yeah. So shout out to True Hill Heat, SP3. Thank you, brother, for your support, man. Says good to see the brothers are doing their thing. However, I wouldn't calling them to take a pay cut and then letting them go a favor. LMAO.
Yeah.
Appreciate y'all.
Yeah, it's
you,
not.
my guy.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
not, Sid. That shit is not a favor. It was what it was them not. It was them unshackling them. That's what I'll say. It wasn't a favor. It was them saying, "Hey, we're not gonna pay you what you what you want to get paid. So let's cut our losses." It wasn't a goddamn favor though. I'll agree with that 100%.
I hope they released his channel and they released Austin Creed's like whatever when it comes to up down down.
Yeah,
I know there's a lot tied into
bought
it.
yeah they bought that already. So
well, yeah,
and
I hope that they released that to him.
They could come up with some other. They could come up with some other video game code. That I mean, it's more than just the Konami code. They can come up with some other shit and name it that. You know, if he really wanted to 100%. Do that stuff. Yeah.
I mean, they're creative enough to go ahead and do that. They've shown that they got the cachet to go ahead and do outside ventures. Not an issue. I know that at least I believe that they're going to land on their feet unscathed by this. Will it hurt their ego? Maybe, maybe not. Because I mean, listening to their podcast previously, I mean, they've got principles and morals that they stand on, and this is something that they stood on business 10 toes down. And hey, we out the door. Peace, respect.
Yeah. Oh, and then Jimmy Cordera is someone that I'm Facebook friends with. Yeah, he worked for them for 20 years, and Mark Kyoto too. And they weren't friends with this, you know what I'm saying? So there are people like that in that company, you know, and then there are the people that are friends with them, you know.
So let's go around the horn and briefly, you know, in your 90-day or 89-day now with the clock ticking, where do you see Xavier Woods and Kofi Kingston ending up? We'll start with you, Ray.
Well, I know we kind of discussed this prior to coming on live. I do see them going to AEW. Only thing is, I know with the 24 releases that you mentioned at the top of the show, Brother Jay, prior to the New Day asking to leave, and also with Tonga Loa and JC Mateo, aka Jeff Cobb, leaving. Only thing about it is that I don't see a lot of those folks ending up in AEW as far as the folks who were released previously. The only tag team that I really see going over there, aside from New Day, is the Motor City Machine Guns, or whether or not they return to TNA as well could be possible. So I do think that AEW would be a logical next step for them, especially considering their history with the Elite, as far as the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega, and kind of doing video game related stuff with them. So I think that would be a good fit as AEW.
What about you, Doc?
Yeah, I'm treating this like I treated the CM Punk when he got released from AEW. I told this to everyone too. Everyone was like, WWE would never take CM Punk back. I was like, what the fuck are you guys smoking? CM Punk is a main eventer. I don't care what the issues were before. He's going back there, and you don't let A-listers go
Right.
and expect them not to go to the main competition. So they're gonna go to AEW. They're gonna get the checks. They're gonna get their money. Whether they last for a long time is another story, because I think they could or couldn't just really, as long as TK keeps them special. There's so many things you could do with that group. You know what I'm saying? You could, because I mean, they never got to feud with the Hurt Business in WWE, and
Right.
I thought
Yeah.
that was a natural progression for that group in WWE, because New Day was kind of like the happy-go-lucky guys, and the Hurt Syndicate were almost a little bit more militant, you know.
Right.
So there's something you could do with that. Omega and the Bucks, you know, they've been, you know, they had their little video game thing off TV and stuff. They're friends with each other. So there's things you could do with that. There's so many there's talent there that Kofi and Woods could mentor. They were turning into the leaders in WWE. I remember looking at a post from Woods or something, and they were looking around and they're like, oh, I guess we're the new Undertaker, you know, because you know all the young wrestlers are coming to them for advice. It boggles my mind. To me, this is more tone deaf than the R-Truth firing, you know. They're both tone deaf. I don't want to, and I think it's debate. What you could. I'm not going to argue if you say R-Truth is the more tone deaf, but it's just these guys bought so much. Kofi Kingston, the Kofi Mania never got the respect it was due. It ended with a lot of disrespect. I was there at the Staples Center. It was still called the Staples Center at the time.
It'll
When
forever
that
be known as the Staples Center.
when that look, man, I'll whoever buys the naming rights for that building, I'll call it whatever you want, you know. Hey, but what I will say is they that when Kofi lost the belt that day, the arena deflated, you know, and then the person that was coming out to replace him, good as an MMA fighter, not really known as a wrestler, and when he came in as a wrestler, he really didn't even look the part. He did beat Brock Lesnar's ass. That happened in real life, but he didn't come in looking like the part of a wrestler. And people were like, okay, this is the guy that's replacing Kofi Kingston. So I think they'll go to AEW. I think their no compete ends right before the Wembley pay-per-view. And I think that's a perfect place to debut them at, you know. I think that the fortunes of AEW are gonna change significantly. And it's not gonna be because AEW did anything grandiose. It's because WWE keeps doing shit like this.
Gerard, what's your thoughts? What do you think what's going to happen with the New Day?
I do think they're gonna go to AEW, but I kind of wish they didn't. I kind of wish Kofi would just go first. But like that would kill the momentum. It would kill the energy of them both being released. So I get why they would both go, but I want Kofi to go on his own. I want Xavier. There's something stated in that promo that to me excited me. Biggie has gone and become a world champion. Kofi did too. Xavier has never became a world champion. The room, there's a log jam, a literal log jam for the AEW world title. Now, yeah, you could say ROH, and I would love to see him be the king of ROH and him feuding with folks with like Bandito and everybody. But like, maybe I would love to actually see him. He's been kind of yapping about TNA a lot. I'm the first one to take the stink off the TNA guys coming over here. So I'd love to see him actually go to TNA. Xavier, that is. 6 months to a year. Go be explosive, impactful. Do that. There's no partnership because we know how things are currently between AEW and TNA. So we see that there's no real working relationship right now. But nonetheless, I don't see why they can't do that and then do something after. Because I just feel like if they go to AEW, I get that. Oh, the Young Bucks, great, cool. We can have that and the Elite and all those great feuds, and FTR wants them there, and we can have all these great tag team matches. But there's a time and a clock ticking on Xavier as a singles wrestler, and I would love to see him get his shine and do as a singles wrestler. Everybody else in the New Day were getting their opportunities. And that's the one thing that upset me the most about their entire WWE storyline. I felt that they were going to put the focus more on Xavier. Whether if that was Kofi taking a back seat so Xavier can get that shine, and Biggie supporting them as a manager to help them both get that shine. That initial promo in October when they first yelled at each other backstage to then move to turn heel against Biggie together, it seemed like we were going to go put the focus on, okay, we're going to get our get back on our singles runs and things we wanted. Oh, we're going to do something we ain't never did before. The tag team titles? What? Oh, we've never won the tag team titles without Big E. You actually have. You did it in NXT.
Yep.
So I'm not a fool. I remember that.
Right.
But yet that's not what we're doing forward. Like y'all weren't. I'm not dumb. I'm paying attention to these storylines. Evolve my characters. That's how you succeed in this company. You have to continuously evolve them. And then you said, oh, tag team. And they're only going to be as good as a tag team. That's it. And then we're not going to have them even give them the opportunities to wrestle as a tag team. WWE really disappointed me with what they did with the New Day in their last few years. I want to see that story picked up because just in the same way MVP and Bobby and Shelton all said, hey, there was more to that Hurt business. And we definitely did not get the room or the time to finish that in WWE. So we're going to go finish that elsewhere. I think them picking up on, hey, yo, it's time to make Xavier a world champion. That's where we go from here. Now, if it's ROH, cool. But I think ROH just does not have the screen. Now, the presence. I want Xavier to be on some type of platform. At least AMC, that's a platform.
Right.
That's people get to see this man do his thing. He gets a lot of good national exposure. And you know what? If it's truly that, if they feel okay about their relationship with WWE after, at least they can have some type of working ties with them because of the TNA little partnership thing.
Yeah,
so,
but TNA isn't going to give him 7 figures, though. That's the only thing with that. Like AEW, I'm sure TK is going to be willingly give him that. And I don't know if TNA has that in their budget.
Well, and the only thing about the whole the TNA option is we saw what Carlos Silva did with AEW talent not commingling with TNA talent. That's the only and you're right to TNA doesn't have the dates, and so they have their they rely on outside appearances to supplement their income. So we saw what Carlos Silva did. Am I going to be running to that promotion? Probably not. But I do like what you're cooking, though. I mean, he could go back to TNA talking about Xavier Woods or Consequences Creed, as he's known in those streets, getting a world title run. That would be pretty dope.
Real quick, if I could jump in real quick, Jay, just wanted to first off shout out the folks that are joining us on the Substack. We did premiere, yes, brother Chris did premiere our newest Substack.
This is a joint venture between all of us. We did it. We did the damn thing.
Yeah. So we are live streaming. This is our first official video over on the Substack. We got quite a few people joining us, 18 in fact. We have one person who joined us who wasn't familiar with Chris's work before, but is familiar with his work now. A person, Kevlar, says, Chris, way off topic, but every time I read your posts, I'm reminded how poorly I write. So
it's a learned skill, my man. I appreciate you.
Yeah. Shout out to everybody watching in real time and those that will be watching in the future. And before we dismiss and let everybody go, I'm thinking, and this isn't in my own, ring theologist or the ring theory. Theologist is like what to tie them together. The first part of their run in WWE. But anyway, I would love to see Kofi Woods unite with the Hurt Syndicate.
Yeah, I do. I was thinking the same thing too. And
I would love to see that.
And they brought it up too.
And here's the reason why. Because, while the Hurt Business was in WWE and you got the New Day and the others, other tag team and WWE at the same time, they were, going to set something up. And, we've got MVP now talking about, hey, we're looking for new members. We're looking to expand, business. And what better way to introduce a more serious side to what Kofi and Woods were already introducing into the New Day? They can still be the creative, the comic book loving, hip hop referencing creatives that they are, but put that twist in addition to what the Hurt Syndicate bring to the table on AEW, bringing that to that stage. Like, honestly, it would be another vein of what Swerve's doing, but without being suited and booted.
Yeah. I think that too. And what about the name situation though? Because Austin Creed is Xavier Woods. He's been calling himself Austin Creed since the forever. So that's not going to be a problem. Kofi Kingston had the name Kofi Nahaje Kingston when he was wrestling with Chaotic Wrestling. So I don't know how they own Kofi Kingston. Nahaje is his is one of his real middle names. So
Kofi is his real name as well too.
Kofi's his real government name too. So I'm thinking, when we had Prince Nana on this show, he reminded me his African name is Kofi. Say it right. so I'll make sure I say it right because they're both from
Kofi. Yeah, once upon a time we had Cody just running around here with one name,
right? Yeah, so you could do that. You could do that, but it could be a Christian Cage thing because that was the thing. Vince, the WWE owned the Christian moniker singular, but Christian was already calling himself Christian Cage. Right. Way before he got to WWE, so like I do think if I think you could get around. I'm gonna have to ask Thurston about this, but I do think you get around this by just adding the Nahaje back to it, because that's what he was with Chaotic Wrestling. And if you go to YouTube, some of those promos are there where he's just bad and mean for no reason with a conservative fro. Complaining about buildings and degradation of society, and it was a funny character, So go back if you haven't seen Kofi in Chaotic Wrestling, YouTube that whenever you get a chance.
And then I think another prospect could be, I don't know if you guys listen to the Field of Power podcast with the New Day, but he would introduce this character called Big Money Kof, which he would return to his Jamaican roots, but he would be like, oh, because I have all this money now, you're beneath me.
Yeah, he could be
money Prince. I'm only going after the money, the big dollars.
He can have Prince Nana as his manager.
Ooh.
Being like
so many options.
Yeah, there's the possibilities are endless, and I do like this for AEW because they are gonna one up WWE in the black card too, you know, because WWE they stepped up with Trick Williams and Oba, you know. So them AEW acquiring these two, anytime you could get a fresh coat of paint on you in another company is always a positive thing. Um and as for Woods and the world title, I'm not gonna count anything out just yet. Like I don't know how he's gonna get over. I don't know how the AEW audience is gonna take to him. For all I know, he could be AEW World Champion once he gets there. But one thing I do know, and I can only I can only say this as a 6-figure income person. But when you I can imagine when you get to 7 figures, you don't want to go back to whatever the fuck you were making before that, you know.
Right.
And
Absolutely not.
yeah, they're getting 7 figures. I don't. I love uh, Xavier Woods, but the dude is has been grinding. He's 39 years old. He wants to enjoy his money. I don't if TNA is offering this dude a 7-figure deal, I think he'll consider it. But I don't think either of those dudes, if they wanted to take 6-figure deals, they would have just stayed in WWE and took them, you know.
Right. And then, like you
Yeah.
said, it's like the standard of living has raised up.
Right, yeah.
And
Everything changes, man.
yeah,
Shoot.
Oh,
They got I'm barely in the upper middle class echelon. And yeah, I'm not trying to go back to, you
Big Mama
know,
Chris over here.
right, yeah,
I
exactly.
know.
Yeah, I'm not trying to go back to like, you know, the stuff I was doing before that, because when you climb the ladder of success, you want to make sure that you're setting a foundation not just for you but for your kids. And if you don't got no kids, you got nephews and nieces and stuff like that. You got a lifestyle that you built.
Right.
And like those dudes said, it took a lot of shit just to live this here lifestyle. Bottom to the top, my lifestyle.
We got
So-
Chris over. We got 2 comma Chris introducing the new character over here.
Right, yeah. Hey,
But,
look,
but you know what? Like Patrick Ewing, he said in the interview, why do we get paid a lot of money? Because we spend a lot of money.
right,
You know what
yeah.
I'm saying? So
Yeah.
you got a lifestyle to uphold. I totally
Yeah,
get it.
and
You know, get as much as you can.
and you make a lot of money too. I think for the kind of money that Biggie and Kofi and Woods were bringing to the WWE, they should be getting 7 figures is the least that company could do for them, man. They should be
Right.
getting like Friends money shit, like, you know, they were getting like
Mhm.
$1 million an episode. That's the kind of shit they should be getting. And TKO's doesn't pay comparable salaries to what they make, you know.
Right.
In the NBA, because I was doing a read up on this. NBA, the players get 70% or something like that of what the NBA makes.
Of the
The
revenue,
executives still get more, but there's a 70% pot there that the players get, and that 70% pot basically means nobody's making under $1 million a year. Why is it not like that in WWE, especially with all the fucking bragging they do?
Collective bargaining, Chris.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, well, that's the union part. And that's where wrestlers need to get their mind right with that shit too. You got to unionize, man, because if you don't, this kind of stuff happens. You know, and the contracts are one-sided too. They can let you go. You can't quit. If you quit, it's a breach of contract.
Mm-hmm.
And on top of that, They own the characters that you build in that company,
Right.
which is bullshit because it's not like Jim Parsons playing Sheldon Cooper on The Big Bang Theory. Um, he's only Sheldon Cooper for like 30 minutes a day on television. When you're Roman Reigns, when you walk out of the house in public, you are expected to be Roman Reigns. When you
Mm-hmm.
go on Jimmy Kimmel's show or Jimmy Fallon's show, you are expected to be Roman Reigns. You're expected to be Roman Reigns all the time. WWE is not going to make money off of the character of Roman Reigns when you leave. So the only reason why they own that name is out of very selfish, like, yeah, you can leave, but we still own you reasons, you know? Like,
Right.
WWE is not going to bring another guy to WWE named Edge and expect the fans to take him seriously.
They
Well,
better
they
There's
not.
tried
no,
that. Remember, they did try that.
they tried,
Diesel.
they
That's how
tried
they
that
know it
with,
Well,
doesn't work.
yeah, they tried that
yeah,
with Diesel. They tried that with Razor. They've
yeah.
tried it with Double J. They tried
Mhm.
it with, you know,
Doink.
Doink the Clown, and you know, it's you can't get away with that kind of crap, you know. So it's really selfish reasons why they put so much ownership on these names. Like, you're not even to this day, if you bring a guy in that company and name him Mr. Perfect, fans will look at you like you're stupid, you know. So is the WWE have structured themselves, the company, like they're pimps, and they treat the talent like they're, I'm not going to use the
Yeah.
derogatory term, but they treat them
Garden
like,
tools.
they treat them like that, and that is not
Working.
cool at all. And
Yeah.
I think as people that watch that show, it's we should probably start demanding more out of WWE, and the wrestlers got to demand more out of themselves as well, you know.
Yeah.
Well, one way I think that we can demand that, and that's perfect into what I was going to feed right into you, Chris, is our Substack that we you just created. So can you give us a little glimpse of what people can expect when they sign up for the Substack?
Oh yeah, so when you sign up for the Substack, you can expect articles. I don't think I'll be the only person writing articles right now. I'm the only one writing articles now, but that we just launched yesterday. Live streams like this. Go to the YouTube and add us on YouTube. You know, the quicker we monetize this thing, we can pay people what they need. If we need Gerard to go on location, he could use the company credit card instead of having to pay out of pocket. When we already got media credentials. We are a legit operation here. The Substack just adds to the legitimacy. We've got our own YouTube channels. We got our own stuff. And we are trying to grow this thing so we could give you guys more content that you like. Go to the Substack, go to the chat, leave us feedback. Just tell us what you like about us. Share this with your friends. Share the YouTube with your friends. And yeah, just expect you're gonna get wrestling articles. You're gonna get political articles, entertainment articles. Hopefully, we get Brittany Monet working red carpets. I'm still working that out. I don't know if she believes me when I tell her that, but I'm already talking to different media outlets to get some of our people working red carpets for movie premieres and all that shit. So expect all of that within the next couple years. You're gonna get that, you know. So looking forward to this new era of Nefarious Media, the Substack era. If you're coming from my own personal Substack and you like my politics, but you also like these kind of conversations, add this page. You know, if you can contribute monetarily. If you can't contribute monetarily, that's cool too. Just share. If you share us enough times, people who have money will want to help us out. So don't feel obligated to pay us, especially if the economy is not like allowing you to do that. But sharing, talking about us, keeps the algorithm friendly to us. So we really, really appreciate that. And thank you all for joining us on Substack. We hope to see you more on YouTube and all that. And thanks everyone for doing this emergency meeting. The New Day, they've been around for 20 years, so I think this is the least we could do for them is, give them their flowers while they're still here. Hope wish them well wherever they go. And yeah, that's about it, man.
Right on, right on. Chris, well, since you're right here and since we're wrapping it up, where can people find you? And we'll go around the horn. We'll start with you, Chris.
Yeah, you can find me at is the moniker on the screen? I think it is. So professorealy.substack.com. If you Google me, you can find like all of my outlets, my LinkedIn, which in the Instagram, which I've been doing. I've been trying to keep the Instagram anonymous for the longest time, but now I'm at the point now where I've got more followers than the people that I'm following. So I think I'm gonna probably have to unprivatize that. So if you want to follow me on the gram, just wherever, Facebook, all that stuff. And mainly here at Nefarious on the YouTube channel. Add the YouTube channel again. We're trying to get to a. We've been saying 500. We're trying to get to 1,000 on YouTube because when we hit that, that's the monetization sweet spot. Help us get there. Share this stuff if you can. Appreciate it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Ray, where can people find you?
Well, first off, brother Chris, just noticing the t-shirt, brother. Digging the t-shirt, brother.
Oh yeah, I didn't even. Yeah, I guess this is my New Day or the up down down tribute. Yeah, yeah.
But yet you could just find me mainly here on Nefarious. Like the good brother said, you can join us on all the different outlets, whether it be the Substack, the YouTube, the Instagram, which I've been uploading some content while I was at AEW Dynamite this past Wednesday. So just uploading some content from my visit there. Oh, and speaking of my trip to AEW Dynamite, unfortunately, I wasn't able to join these good brothers for the proper Ring Theory episode on this past Friday, but I did go ahead and record my statements as far as how I think the event went, and that will be tagged on the audio version. Once that gets released, that will be tagged on the audio version of Ring Theory, and that will be added for a Patreon exclusive prior to me uploading the full Ring Theory episode on the audio version. So the Patreon will get it a few days before we release it for everyone via audio. So I just had my thoughts on that and how that went. And SBF should be coming soon as well within the next week or so. Highlighting UFC 328, which will be happening next Saturday, which will feature the UFC middleweight championship bout between Sean Strickland and champion Khamzat Chimaev in Chicago. So we'll be talking about that. We'll also be giving our thoughts. Myself and the main eventer himself, Jay Lacey, will be discussing finally, as we're getting closer and closer, this MVP MMA card headlined by the returning Ronda Rousey facing the returning Gina Carano. So we'll talk about all that good stuff on the latest edition of Styles Break Fights coming up sometime next week. So that's all I got.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Just coming up with lots and lots of content. Gerard, where can people find you, bro?
You can find me right here on the Drive for 500 on the Nefarious Media Network. You can also catch me on Instagram at Brown First of his name. And I'm going to say this. AEW, I like them going to AEW. I'm going to then ask TK to do something that he hasn't done since 2023. Please, please, just do the brand split. Like I know it was like a soft brand split, but like I love those days. Like that those couple of months of Collision having a different feel from Dynamite and Dynamite having its own feel. I thought that was kind of smooth. And so if you got enough talent now, you could split it up between three. You could have your literal own Dynamite, Raw, Collision, SmackDown, NXT, ROH setup that you need right there. Just do it. And then give everybody the breath and the space to be characters within that kind of system. I think that would be a lot of fun. That's what I want to see first.
Well, they got way too many people on the roster too. They actually need a brand split at this point. Both companies do.
But hey, that's a theory that hopefully we can dive a little bit more into, because you know what, from the way it's looking, WWE said we don't believe in drafts anymore. And so maybe AEW will pick that concept for us. So, but if you want to hear about more potential theories in the future, always catch me on Ring Theory with my tag team partner, Jay, my trios partner, Two-Way Ray. Sometimes we have we did that free bird rule going, and out of nowhere, Chris will swap in when need be. And so you never know who could tag in at Nefarious. We're like the New Day, where we could all swap in and out at any time, any place. So you never know what's going down over here. So always check in on the channel. We always got great content, whether we're going live, whether they're going and doing watch-alongs. Who knows? We're going to dip our feet into the video game realm in the future as well. So just, hey, if there's something you like, we're trying to cover a lot of different breaths here, but from a turned-up perspective, and letting it be from a perspective that maybe sometimes doesn't always get that voice and that lens. So we are providing that opportunity here and now. So, hey, join us.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And I appreciate you, brothers, for joining for a emergency podcast. We had to do this and give it the respect it deserves. And you can catch me on Instagram at Jarek, all caps, _wins on Instagram. Same thing can be said for my Blue Sky. And I just opened up a Twitch channel. So same handle, Jarek, all caps, _wins. And you know what? We're going to be dropping some exclusives on that channel, link it to the Patreon. And guess what? That's going to be behind the paywall. So you got to hear, if you want to hear those thoughts, hear those theories, you got to get us, get with us on the Drive for 500 on the Patreon. $3 entry fee. $3 gets you in the door, and it gets you more. So that's what we got right there. And for everybody here at Nefarious, thank you for watching in real time, listening, locking in with your boys. We're excited for what's going on, what we're doing, what we started a little over a year ago is bubbling up and becoming two right now. So, just
and look for us at the Forbidden Door press conference after the Forbidden Door show. So
100%. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Indeed. So for my man, Two-Way Ray, for the good doctor, Chris Ealy, for my man, downtown Gerard Brown, I am Main Event. And I said it with my whole chest. Jarek Lacey, signing off, wishing you peace, chicken grease, and we'll catch you on the flippity flip. Love y'all.
Cool.